For years, we've been taught to hide the parts of ourselves that are soft, emotional, imperfect, and scared. But what if the very thing you're hiding is the reason you'll rise? Let me tell you something most people never hear. You don't become strong by pretending you're unbreakable. You become strong by admitting you're human. We live in a world where everyone wears emotional armor, smiles that hide pain, confidence that masks insecurity, and silence that covers trauma. People think vulnerability means weakness. They think crying means losing, asking for help means failing, and showing emotion means you're too sensitive. But the truth, vulnerability is courage in its purest form. It takes strength to say, I'm hurt, I'm scared, I'm healing, I need support. Anyone can numb their feelings. Anyone can shut down, ignore, and pretend. That's easy. But to open your heart, to risk being misunderstood, to expose your truth in a world that judges first and listens second, that is power. When you allow yourself to feel, to connect, to be seen, that's when life changes. That's when relationships become real. That's when walls fall. That's when healing begins. You don't grow by being perfect. You grow by being real. So in this journey, I'm going to take you somewhere deeper, beyond the masks, beyond the walls, beyond the fear, and into the place where real strength lives. Because the world doesn't need more guarded hearts. The world needs people brave enough to feel. We grow up hearing the same message, be strong, but no one tells us what strength actually is. For most of our lives, strength was painted as silence. Don't cry, don't break, don't show emotion, don't admit pain, hold it together, even when your heart is falling apart on the inside. So we learn to build walls, we learn to stay quiet, we learn to stay quiet, we learn to smile when our souls were exhausted. And we called that strength, but that wasn't strength, that was survival. Real strength is not a performance, it's not a perfect mask. It's not the ability to pretend you're okay when you're not. Real strength is the moment you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm hurting, I'm still here, I'm afraid, but I'm still trying. I'm broken, but I'm not giving up. Strength is honesty. Strength is truth. Strength is choosing to feel instead of running. Some people will say emotions make you weak, but the strongest people I've ever known felt everything deeply. They loved hard, they cared hard, they showed up with their hearts open even after they'd been hurt. Anybody can shut down emotionally. It's the easiest escape. But to stay open, to stay vulnerable, to stay soft in a world that can be cruel, that requires courage most people will never understand. And here's the painful truth. When you hide your feelings, you don't protect yourself, you imprison yourself. You can't heal what you refuse to feel. You can't grow through what you pretend doesn't exist. You can't connect when you're numb. So yes, vulnerability feels scary. Yes, it feels risky. Yes, it exposes parts of you that the world might not treat gently, but it's the only path to real strength. It's the only doorway to real connection. It's the only space where real healing begins. And when you learn that your entire life changes, there is a wound inside every person, something they never talk about, something they carry alone. Some people bury it under work. Some people hide it behind anger. Some people drown it in distractions, relationships, or silence. But wounds don't disappear just because we pretend they're not there. Healing doesn't happen in the dark. Healing requires light. And the first light that touches a wound is honesty, the willingness to say, I'm hurting. Something inside me needs attention. That moment of honesty is vulnerability. And that's where the transformation begins. You can't grow past pain you refuse to acknowledge. You can't release what you never admit is heavy. You can't rebuild what you never allow yourself to break. Thousands, vulnerability lifts the weight off your chest, slowly, gently, piece by piece. It is not about telling the whole world your story. It's about allowing yourself to stop fighting your own heart. It's sitting with your emotions instead of running from them. It's saying the words you've swallowed for years. It's feeling what you've been numb to. It's letting the tears fall without apologizing for them. And yes, it hurts. He isn't soft. Healing is messy, emotional, uncomfortable, but it is freedom. Because the moment you stop pretending you're fine, you discover something powerful. You are still worthy. You are still lovable. You are still strong, even with the cracks. You don't need to be unscarred to be whole. You don't need to be perfect to deserve peace. Wounds are not proof of weakness. They are proof that you've survived things that could have broken you. Vulnerability is not the breaking point. It's the turning point. The day you stop hiding your pain is the day you start healing. There is a reason so many relationships feel shallow, distant, or unstable. We talk, But we don't tell the truth. We laugh, but we don't open our hearts. We share moments, but not pieces of our souls. Connection isn't built from perfection. Connection is born from vulnerability. Think about the people you trust the most. Are they flawless, untouched by pain, emotionless? No. You trust them because they're real, because they've shown you their fears, their flaws, their mistakes, their humanity. You don't connect to someone's mask. You connect to their truth. When you tell someone, I'm struggling, I'm worried, I'm feeling lost, you're giving them a doorway into your heart. That honesty makes others brave enough to open up too. It turns strangers into friends, friends into family, and love into something deep and unshakable. But so many people go through life hidden. They push everyone away with, I'm fine, I don't care, it doesn't matter. And then they wonder why they feel lonely, unheard, unseen. As loneliness is not the absence of people. Loneliness is the absence of being known. You can be surrounded by a room full of people and still feel completely invisible if you never let anyone see the real you. Vulnerability is the bridge. It says, this is who I am, not perfect, not polished, but honest. And when someone meets you there with empathy, love, and understanding, you experience the kind of connection that changes you from the inside out. Real love, real friendship, real family. They grow from shared truth, not shared perfection. Every time you let someone in, a wall comes down. Every time you reveal your heart, a bond strengthens. Every time you show your true self, you're giving others permission to do the same. Vulnerability does not push people away. It pulls the right people closer. And those people, they become the healing you never knew you were searching for. There's a moment in every life where pain feels unbearable. The betrayal you didn't expect, the love you lost, the failure that shattered your confidence, the silence after someone you needed walked away. Most people try to bury that pain. They run from it, distract themselves, lock it in the darkest part of their heart, and hope time will erase it. But pain doesn't leave just because you avoid it. Pain transforms only when you face it. And that moment when you stop fighting your emotions and start feeling them, that is vulnerability. Vulnerability turns pain into wisdom. It turns heartbreak into boundaries. It turns mistakes into growth. It turns endings into beginnings. Think about it. The strongest, most compassionate, most resilient people in this world were not shaped by comfort. They were shaped by struggle. They learned to rise because life knocked them down. But the rise wasn't instant. It started with vulnerability, a decision to stop pretending, a willingness to say, I'm hurting, but this pain is not the end of me. Vulnerability gives your pain a voice, and once it has a voice, it can teach you. It teaches you who deserves access to your heart. It teaches you what you will no longer tolerate. It teaches you how to stand up for yourself. It teaches you how to love yourself deeper than before. When you hide pain, it controls you. When you face it, you control it. And one day, you will look back at the moments that almost broke you and realize they were building you. Not into someone harder, but someone wiser. Not into someone bitter, but someone aware. Not into someone closed, but someone intentional. Your pain is not your weakness. Your pain is your teacher, and vulnerability is the door that lets that teacher in. When you face your pain with an open heart, you don't just survive, you transform. People often say, I'll open up when I'm stronger. I'll speak when I'm confident. I'll share when I'm ready. But vulnerability doesn't wait for confidence. Vulnerability is the step you take before you feel ready. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is walking forward while fear is shaking in your chest. The world has convinced us to believe that strong people are fearless. But the truth is, the strongest hearts are the ones that tremble and still show up every time you tell the truth about what you feel. Every time you say, I don't know the answer, every time you move forward with uncertainty, you are doing something incredibly brave. You might think your voice is shaking, but it is still speaking. You might think your heart is fragile, but it is still beating. You might think your story is messy, but it is still yours, and there is nothing more courageous than standing in your truth. Confidence says, I feel powerful right now. Courage says, I'm terrified, but I'm still here. And that's where vulnerability lies, in the small, quiet, trembling moments of honesty. When you open up to someone you trust, when you speak about what hurt you, when you ask for help, when you admit you're struggling, you are choosing courage over protection. You are letting go of armor you've carried for years. And that armor might have kept you safe, but it also kept you lonely. Confidence may impress people, but vulnerability connects people. The bravest conversations in the world begin with, I'm scared, I'm hurting, I don't know, I need you. And when you speak those words, you are not weak, you are human. And nothing is more powerful than a human who refuses to hide anymore. Your courage doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's a whisper, sometimes it's a deep breath, sometimes it's a single sentence. But every vulnerable moment is proof you are stronger than your fear. We live in a world obsessed with perfection, perfect bodies, perfect relationships, perfect success, perfect smiles plastered over broken hearts. But perfection isn't real. It's a filter. It's a performance. It's a mask we wear because we're terrified that if people saw our real selves, they'd walk away. So we hide our anxiety behind jokes. We hide our loneliness behind confidence. We hide our heartbreak behind, I don't care. But authenticity begins where perfection ends. You don't connect with someone because they seem flawless. You connect because they are real. Vulnerability says, I'm not perfect, and that's okay. I make mistakes, but I'm learning. I fall apart sometimes, but I'm still showing up. When you embrace your imperfections, you stop pretending and you start living. Think about how much energy we waste trying to look strong, fixing every flaw, holding every emotion inside, smiling when we want to scream, staying silent when we want to cry. But the moment you drop the mask, you exhale, you finally breathe, you finally feel. Authenticity doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. You stop judging your past. You stop apologizing for being human. You stop chasing approval from people who don't even know your heart. Vulnerability lets you say, this is who I am, not the polished version, not the edited version, the real version. And here's the magic. The right people will love you more because of it, not in spite of it. When you show your scars, the right people won't run. They'll say, I have them too. And suddenly you're not alone. Perfection isolates you. Authenticity frees you. You weren't born to be perfect. You were born to be real. And real is powerful. Real is magnetic. Real is enough. There is a part of vulnerability no one talks about, the way it forces you to confront the relationship you have with yourself. Most people think vulnerability is only about opening up to others, but the hardest person to be honest with is your own reflection. We are brutal with ourselves. We forgive everyone else, but punish ourselves. We understand others' flaws, but hate our own. We show compassion to the world, but deny it to our own hearts. Vulnerability changes that. When you allow yourself to feel, to cry, to admit you're tired, to say you're overwhelmed, to acknowledge your wounds, you stop treating yourself like a machine and start treating yourself like a human. And that's where self-love begins. Self-love isn't about spa days, selfies, or pretending to be confident. Self-love is the quiet moment when you say, I deserve patience. I deserve rest. I deserve forgiveness. I deserve healing. When you're vulnerable with yourself, you stop hiding your pain behind ambition or business. You stop calling your needs weak. You stop expecting your heart to be bulletproof. You learn to speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. You realize that your scars don't make you unworthy, that they make you real. You start treating your inner world with gentleness. You start believing you are worthy of love, not because you are perfect, but because you exist. And here's the beautiful part. When you love yourself, you stop begging others to prove your worth. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places where your soul can't breathe. Vulnerability softens you, but it also strengthens your boundaries. You learn to walk away from what hurts you. You learn to protect your peace. You learn to choose yourself, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. Self-love is not born from ego. It is born from vulnerability. And the moment you decide you are worthy of deep care, your life begins to transform. Here's the paradox. No one expects the more vulnerable you become, the stronger you are, because when you are no longer afraid of your emotions, no one can use them against you. When you are no longer ashamed of your past, no one can hold it over you. When you stop hiding your truth, you stop living in fear. You become unbreakable, not because life stops hurting, but because you learn how to rise through the hurt. People think strength is about being untouched. But you don't become strong by avoiding pain. You become strong by surviving it. When someone tries to break you emotionally, but you have already faced your own heart, you don't fall apart. You stand taller. When life disappoints you, but you've learned how to feel your emotions without drowning in them, you don't collapse. You grow deeper. When others judge you, but you know your truth, their words lose power. Vulnerability is not the crack in your foundation. It is the foundation. Because once you accept every part of yourself, the soft parts, the hurting parts, the messy parts, the imperfect parts, you become impossible to control, impossible to manipulate, impossible to break. What can you threaten a person with when they are no longer scared of being seen? That's where true freedom lies. In vulnerability, you build emotional resilience. You learn to sit with pain instead of running from it. You learn to ask for help instead of drowning in silence. You learn to rebuild even after losing everything. You don't become colder. You become wiser. You don't shut your heart. You protect it with clarity. Life will still hurt. People may still disappoint you. Challenge will still come, but you will not be destroyed by them, because vulnerability teaches you how to bend without breaking, how to feel without giving up, how to stay soft in a world that tries to harden you, and that is real strength. There comes a moment, a quiet, private moment, where you finally realize you are done hiding, you are done pretending, you are done carrying the weight alone. That moment changes everything, because vulnerability is not something that happens to you. It is a choice you make, a choice to speak instead of silence, a choice to feel instead of numb, a choice to open your heart even when it has been bruised before. And when you choose vulnerability, your life begins to transform in ways you never imagined. You start having real conversations instead of surface level exchanges. You build relationships that are honest, deep, safe, and nourishing. You stop apologizing for being human. You stop chasing validation. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You become more intentional, more grounded, more alive. Vulnerability teaches you that it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to tell someone, I'm not okay right now. It is okay to admit you don't have the answers. And the magic is this: when you open your heart, life opens back. New connections, new opportunities, new strength, new peace. The walls you once thought were protecting you are actually blocking your joy. When you let them fall, you finally see the world and yourself clearly. You discover that you are not alone. You never were. So if you are listening right now, hear this. You are allowed to cry. You are allowed to be scared and still keep going. You are allowed to be human and still deserve love. Vulnerability is not the moment you break. It is the moment you begin. Ending statement: strength is not the absence of emotion. Strength is the courage to feel, the courage to be seen, the courage to be real. When you choose vulnerability, you are not weakening. You are rising. And there is nothing more powerful than a heart that refuses to hide anymore.